Hello and good morning, beautiful people. Happy Sunday morning. It is so good to see you and be here with you on this wonderful day as we gather together to celebrate the magnificence and significance of God in, through, and as us. Let us begin, as we always do, with prayer. Before we pray, I want to share a part of this reading with you from 365 Days of Richer Living. Today's reading, the affirmation is, I am spirit. Out of unity comes variety. All things are made from one formless substance. The invisible essence of everything is pure spirit. It is a realization of this spirit at the center of everything that enables us to see God in everyone. It is the spirit that quickeneth. When we recognize the spirit in anything or anyone, there is an equal reaction from the spirit back to us, and we are made more alive through the divine influx which follows our recognition. So right here and now, I invite you to just take a breath in and breathe out. We breathe in and we breathe out. And let's affirm, I am here now.
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 Out of unity comes variety. There is one mind, unity, one power, one presence that is working in all, through all, and as all. There is one life, and that life is our life now. It is the very life of Mother, Father, God. It is the very life of good. It is the very life of divine substance. It is the very life of wisdom. It is the very life of healing itself. It is the very life of love. And it is here now. For what I know to be true is that God neither comes nor goes, but is always present. It is through our attention and our recognition that we find God anywhere and everywhere. In the mountain, God is. In the valley, God is. In my triumphs, God is. In my pain, God is. God is right here, right now. And as I remember and recognize that God is and is here now and neither comes nor goes, I remember and recognize that we are one with God and one of God. I recognize that there is no spot where God is not. I recognize that as we are one with God, we are the wave and God is the ocean. I recognize that we have great power. I recognize that we have great possibility. I recognize that this power comes through the power of our thought, our intention, and our decision. And so here and now, I speak this word in faith that this gathering we call the weekend service is blessed beyond compare. As I bless it, I am conferring prosperity upon it. As I bless it, I am calling it good. As I bless it, I am knowing that this time, this gathering, this intentional space that we are co-creating will shift and change something within us. We will leave here differently than when we walked in. We will leave here with a new insight. We will leave here with a new thought. We will leave here with new possibility for our lives. We will leave here with new understanding. We will leave here with new clarity. We will leave here with new direction. We will leave here in right thinking. We will leave here in right action. We will leave here in right knowing. I am grateful and thankful for this intentional sacred space that supports us in living our greatest lives. So it is with joy and thanksgiving that I release this prayer, knowing that it is heard, met, and received, and already being responded to at every level of life and every dimension simultaneously. So we let it be. And we now wait in expectation, just as a child waits on Christmas Eve, knowing that good is coming to each and every one of us. With joy and thanksgiving, we say, amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is.
And so it is. And so it must be. Yes, yes. Well, hello again. Good morning. Happy Sunday. It's so good to be here with all of you. I hope that you had a wonderful holiday weekend, safe holiday weekend. And we are so happy to be back here with each and every one of you. Now, we know there may be just one or more of you who are joining us for the very first time, and we are happy that you chose to celebrate with us. We're happy that you chose to stream with us on this Sunday or whatever day you happen to be watching the stream. And as a first-time guest, we would love to stay in touch with you, and it's very easy to do that. This is the information you see on your screen and how to access our digital connection card. All you have to do is just text the word welcome to 347-472-1078. Once you text that phone number, you'll receive a reply with a link to the digital connection card. Click that link, complete the information that's there, and submit the information. Once you have successfully submitted the information, you'll receive another reply that says, indeed, you're all set, and you will be on our mailing list. We send out a newsletter email that goes out each Friday, and then any other information periodically as necessary. But really, you should only hear from us once a week in your inbox, which I hope is a good thing. But more importantly, we, again, are happy that you're here and absolutely believe that you will receive something this week that will support you in moving through this week victoriously, moving through this week and thriving, and an even more powerful understanding of who and what you are and who and whose you are. So again, we say welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hey.
And so, as I say, we have an email that goes out each and every Friday, and we'll get into our announcements in a second. And so you'll see some of the things that we announce. You want to have those in your inbox, and that, of course, will reinforce what we share, but also give you quick access to some of the information. So let's get into our announcements. Each Wednesday morning, we gather together in prayer at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Momentum Prayer Call. Oftentimes, we like to say it's better than your morning coffee or morning water or tea or whatever it is you choose to drink first thing in the morning. This is a way to continue the momentum that we create on Sunday. It's also a way to jumpstart the momentum if you need to just reinvigorate yourself in the middle of the week. So we encourage you to join us for the Momentum Prayer Call. We share a reading and we pray. The whole thing doesn't last more than 10 or 15 minutes, and we go on about our day, but it's a powerful way to set into the intention for our day. We also are praying for everyone, right? We're praying for our community, everyone that's connected to CSC in any way. We're praying for the continued growth and unfoldment of CSC. We are praying for our nation and for our world. As you also see, there's a playback number, and so you can access the most recent prayer at any time, 24/7, by using that playback number and the access code. Additionally, for those that are on our mailing list, the email that goes out on Friday also includes a link for you to actually connect to that prayer virtually. So we encourage you to take advantage of that. We encourage you to make use of that prayer, tap into the vibration of prayer. And of course, we understand that 7 a.m. on Wednesday mornings may not fit in your schedule, but wherever it fits in your schedule, use the playback number or use the link in the email so that you can tap into the vibration of prayer.
Absolutely.
If you have a prayer request, you can send that prayer request to prayerchampions@celebrationsc.org. That prayer request is received by all of our prayer champions, as well as PY and myself. And we, as we always do, hold the highest watch and are knowing the truth for the community. And that's why we gather together in prayer intentionally each week. But we recognize you may have a specific thing going on in your life, or you may want to request prayer for a loved one, a friend, a family member, whomever it may be. And so this is the way that you do that. We encourage you to do that. Now, we also encourage you to let us know when the prayer has been answered. And it's been wonderful to receive those messages from the community, knowing that prayer is working and beautiful, powerful things are happening in the lives of our community.
And when you send that prayer request in, see it released and no longer let it put you in worry, doubt, and fear, knowing that this community is supporting you and knowing the truth for yourself and experiencing the truth in your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Next Sunday is God Talk Sunday, which happens every third Sunday, and we're happy that we're in a new month and we get to have the God Talk since we did not have it last month. The God Talk is your opportunity to ask questions. We recognize that as you come to new thought and as you come to learn to apply metaphysical principles to your life and live this way, which is different than the way you may have lived in the past or way you have been taught to live spiritually, it's important that you can ask questions, and it's important that you can learn how to apply these principles to the real things that are showing up in your lives. So we have this time. It's a wonderful time. It happens on the third Sundays at 1 p.m. It's virtual, and so the Zoom link and password is sent via email. So you have to be on our mailing list to get the information. and it's in every email that goes out on Fridays. And we encourage you to join us. It's a wonderful time. No question is off limits. We've covered every subject under the sun almost at this point in time. And what we find is that even if you don't ask a question, or you're not able to ask a question because it's an hour, everyone can't ask a question, you find that the question you were thinking about is probably answered through another. And there's this beautiful I don't know. It's almost like relay that happens, right? Like the first question kind of passes on to the next one, and it builds, and it creates this beautiful consciousness and knowing. So we encourage you to join us for the God Talk, because it's always beneficial.
It's always beneficial, and in order to even have the possibility of your question being answered, you got to be in the room.
Yes.
You got to be in the room where it happens.
Yes.
So we love having you. We love supporting you and seeing each other virtually in this way.
Yep. As a reminder, for the summer, we have some new summer designs, and this week there's 15% off in our shop. We encourage you to grab one of the new designs, the Amen, Ashe, and So It Is shirts. It can be a wonderful gift idea, or for yourself. Show your love for CSC and live in the vibration of it is done, it is done, it is done, which is what Amen, Ashe, So It is essentially saying. Well, that concludes our announcements for today. So we can move into the meditation for this month, the meditation experience led by PY.
It feels so good to be back with you for a new month, a new opportunity to remind ourselves of what is true, a new opportunity to sink into the ocean of truth and let it carry us. I'm so grateful to be here with you. We've been studying the power of decision for a long time now, for several months. And so we're integrating that in a myriad of ways into our lived experience. And so we bring that knowingness to meditation. I like to say we spend this time in contemplation, in knowing, and in sinking into the awareness that God is not outside of us. We bring ourselves fully to this experience that goes and transcends any knowledge that we've received in terms of books or classes. And we get to experience God alive and well within ourselves. Individualized expressions of God we are, an individualized receiving and connection we have. And so this month, we are affirming a very important truth. We're taking this power of decision and bringing it to our peace. Today, I choose to live in perfect peace. I get to choose to bring my mind to this place of peace. I get to bring my focus to peace. I get to allow it to permeate every cell of my being. I decide today, I no longer worry about what I didn't do in the past or worry about the future. Right here and right now, I bring my focus to peace. I choose it. I experience it for myself. And so, that's our affirmative thought this month. Today, I choose to spend in perfect peace. Whether the moment that preceded this didn't feel peaceful, the moment that I bring my awareness back to, I get to choose peace. I get to choose peace. A Course in Miracles, it says, instead of this, whatever the this is. And so we use that, the power of choice, the knowingness that peace is as close as our turning towards it, that peace flows on the breath. Let's begin. Look around the room. Notice where you are, that you are safe in your home, seated upright in a chair, on your bed, on your sofa. And from this place of knowingness, just that realization that I am safe activates the peace. Plant the palms on the tops of the thighs. Align the ears over the shoulders, shoulders over hips, creating a nice long line of energy. And from this place of alignment, physical, emotional, and spiritual, we close our eyes and we notice the breath. right where it is. Just notice. The simple act of closing the eyes signals the piece that it's ready to focus and become more aware in our body, our experience. And we notice the breath right where it is. We make no judgment of the breath. We just notice it and are in gratitude that it is flowing, just like the ripples on the ocean, just like the water that encircles this planet. It keeps moving and keeping us connected, keeping us in peace, keeping us uplifted, buoyed by its power. That breath is here now. Whether it appears to be deep or shallow, matters not. It is flowing. And today, we use that breath to decide in favor of our peace. Beautiful, everyone. Now, let's choose and let's take conscious control of the breath, sending our focus and the breath deep into the low belly. And from this place of knowing and feeling the breath, let's expand the low belly together. Inhale, expand the low belly on a count of 4. Hold it there. Count of 4. And now open the mouth, relax the jaw, sigh it out. Count of 4. Again, inhale into the low belly. Count of 4. Hold it there, expanding into new places. And relax the jaw, release, sigh it out. Inhale into the low belly, now up through the rib cage, connecting low belly to midsection, expanding the front and the sides and the back of the body, filling it up. Hold it there. Relax the jaw and release, making more room for peace. Feels good to breathe and connect. Inhale again all the way up, expanding the sides and the front and the back. Hold it there. Now sigh it out without collapsing the body. Just release the breath. In through the low belly, up through the rib cage. Now up through and to the heart chakra, center of the chest. That healing center, that alive center that can send energy and healing and peace wherever we need. Hold it there. Open the mouth, relax the jaw, sigh it out. Maybe we follow the same path in and up, but we find a new place to send the breath, to send peace. In and up. Hold it at the top. And relax the jaw, sigh it out. Maybe this is the first time today that you felt the breath completely animate your body. But let's take a few rounds to notice, to be in gratitude for the peace that is flowing on the breath. Because today we choose to spend perfect peace. And as you inhale in and up, this time, Close the lips. Exhale through the nose. And this pattern and feeling of connection and breath, with the lips closed, exhaling in and out of the nose, slows everything down even more, and it will be the form of our breath work for the remainder of our meditative time. In and out, through the nose. Each round of breath, we choose peace. Beautiful. Let's send all of this relaxation into our bodies. Let's experience the flow of breath and the sensation of relaxation as we take our focus into our feet. Sending the breath there. Relax the feet now. Energy flows up through the soles of the feet, across the ankles. Relax the ankles. Energy flows across the shins and the calves. We connect this flow of energy as we release, sending the energy up the shins and calves. Relax the shins and the calves. Today we spend in perfect peace. We give permission for energy to flow across the knees. Relax the knees. Energy flows across the thighs, the hamstrings, and the glutes. Relax the thighs, the hamstrings, and the glutes. We give permission for the lower half of our body to surrender into perfect peace. As the energy continues to flow, we are safe and we get to experience this aliveness, this connection. Energy flows in and up. Relax and allow. Peace flows in and up. Relax and allow. Peace flows in and up. Relax and allow. Unobstructed. Peace flows in and up. Up. And out the crown of our head. From this open place, we signal more peace to flow. And we open and allow it to flow back down through the crown, across the third eye, down the throat, speaking more words of peace over our lives and those we love. Across our shoulders, down our arms, out our fingertips. Go ahead and scan your body. Notice if you're holding on anywhere. You may turn the palms up to receive more, or keep the palms turned down to ground. As we prepare for our silent time, realize that if the mind wanders, it's okay. When you become aware, lovingly, tenderly, bring it back to our thought. Today, I choose to spend in perfect peace. Today, I choose to spend in perfect peace. From this declaration, from this knowing, the universe responds. We open to it. We receive it now. With your eyes still closed, feel how good it feels to have peace flowing. That no matter what is happening on the outside, just like this ocean deep at your center, there is perfect peace. With our eyes closed, we remember and we take mental pictures. We signal our physiology that there can be waves crashing at the shore, but deep at the center is perfect peace. And we can return to it any time. With our eyes closed, enjoy these final moments of just focusing in on your connection. It's available to you when you choose. So let's decide to bring our perfect peace back with us to the surface and slowly begin to wake the body, wiggling the fingers and the toes maybe. The palms are turned up, turn them down. And as we gently, lovingly release any feeling or movement, settle in again, bringing palms together at heart center, planting the thumbs nice and gentle on the sternum, bowing the chin to the fingertips creates a nice opening along the spinal column. Slowly flutter the eyes open. Nice gentle gaze, no strain on the eyes. Inhale, raise the chin. Raise the gaze. Release the breath. Namaste.
Yes, yes. Namaste. Thank you, PY.
You're welcome.
Well, we are back at it as we continue with our masterclass studying The Power of Decision by Raymond Charles Barker. And we are in Chapter 6. We're continuing with Chapter 6, looking at health, deciding to be healthy. I want to remind everyone, as always, as you're reading the chapter, whichever chapter we're on, as you're reading, send in your questions as they come up. No question is off limits, right? But you have to ask it. And what we've been doing is incorporating those questions as we get to that section in the book, incorporating those questions. So we do have one question today that's related to part of the reading that we'll get to today. You also will see, and you've already seen on your screen, we have other helpful links. All of the spiritual mind treatments that we're reading in the text, we've pulled those out, and then you can print them out and put them somewhere and have them handy to read. We've also added sermon series that are closely aligned with specific chapters, or if we bring up a sermon like the, what was this? I forget which sermon was it. It's Coming to You?
It's Coming to You.
Yeah, it's one of the sermons that we have there. So we encourage you to check that out. And we'll continue to do that, right? It's wonderful. So let's get into the chapter because we have lots to cover.
I hope everyone is enjoying Raymond Charles Barker as much as we are. It's such a good classic New Thought text that not only should you have in your library, you should be integrating into your experience of life. Again, not just information. How are we taking it and living this information?
Yes. So we are beginning here in the section Health is Spiritual. The science outlined in this book is based upon a definite belief in God. Unless you have some belief in whatever you may choose to call God, you cannot be helped by this instruction. I think that's something that at this point should be really clear, but it's important to just understand that you don't have to believe in a Christian God, Jewish God, Muslim God, or I don't know, Hindu pantheon of gods, but there has to be some sense within yourself, whatever you choose to call it, however you choose to name it, that there is something, right? There is a presence that you have a belief in, because otherwise this instruction is not going to be helpful.
Right. Belief in and connection too. So
Right.
it's not your mother's God or your father's God or anything like that. It's what you believe. What you believe is there available to access and connect to.
Right. Now, here we go on. Let us face it. Face the fact that there are many people who really do not believe in God. They may think they do. So what we're saying here is that some people read this like, oh, I believe in God. Well, some people think they believe in God, and they actually don't believe in God. They may proclaim their religious affiliation. They may even attend some church or temple occasionally, but deep down in their world of actual beliefs, they have no spiritual conviction. They accept the factual world as being true. They believe that academic science explains everything without making any attempt to find out whether or not this is true. They are busy making money, paying bills, and seeking to enjoy their experiences. The lack of a belief in God does not seem to do these people any harm. Most of them are honest, moral, and creative. They may use a church for baptisms, weddings, and funerals, but that is about all. To me, they are missing a great growth experience. So here's another clarifying statement. Theology is not God.
I highlighted this one because it's powerful.
Many people have confused theology with God. Man or humanity is spiritual by nature, and when we have an interest in spiritual ideas, we soon discover a great deal about ourselves that was not previously known. We sense a depth support in ourselves, of ourselves. We no longer think we are a body, emotions, and mind, and that is all there is. We see a reason for our being. Right, so this is interesting. When we say theology is not God, and many people have confused theology with God, theology is a set of beliefs about God, right? Spiritual dogma, creeds, etc. This is who God is. This is how God works. This is how God operates. And that is not God. Because, and I've said this often, and I've said this in many sermons, and it's something to think about. As soon as you say the word God, you've created a box. Because God's name is not God. Right? God is beyond names. This is one of our guiding beliefs, right? That God is, right? But God is named and nameless. God is form and formless. So when we say God, we have to have a clear understanding of what we're talking about and recognize that even when we use the word, we've created a finite experience because God is more than whatever our current understanding of it is. It's more than that. Right? This is why Ernest Holmes says, we believe while staying open at the top.
Absolutely.
Right?
Because there's always more information, more of an expanded experience of what God is to us.
My theology professor in seminary used to say it to us like this. He said, believing, knowing that all the data isn't in. Right? So it's like there's more data, there's more information. Okay, I have this experience and this belief, but it's not fixed. I know that there's more data that's going to come in inevitably. Right? Inevitably. Right?
And then you're not afraid. If you stay open in that way, you're not afraid to receive more insight, to get a deeper understanding of God for yourself. And it just keeps you more fluid in your experience of spirituality.
Absolutely.
Right? We were talking about the other day how we got to new thought and all the things that we had to release and let go of and take on new information without the fear that we were doing something wrong or that we wouldn't get to this connection or wouldn't find answers to support where we were going with our spirituality.
Absolutely. We are not self-caused, nor are we biological accidents of nature. Right? Interesting. We are the expression, projection, and manifestation of a larger idea. Evolution explains the development of humanity, but not the causation of humanity. The material definition of the individual does not explain why Bach wrote great music or why Shakespeare wrote great plays. A scientific study of a human's body, heredity, environment, and education does not reveal what causes a great picture to be painted or a great song to be written. Only the spirit in us can do these things. And if the Spirit is in anyone, it is in everyone.
Absolutely.
We are all vehicles of a spirit, a cause, and an intelligence, which is God. God expresses in your body as life and health. Any study of body and health reveals a tremendous intelligence at work. This intelligence is a divine intelligence. It knows what to do when humanity does not know what to do. It can heal the body when it is correctly known and directed by affirmative means. It can also heal the body after surgery or other means of medical practice. I suggest you use the following to know this. And we have a wonderful spiritual mind treatment. There is one life, God, and that life is my life now. Sound familiar?
Yeah.
We
One of
pray
our
it all the
favorites.
time,
Yeah.
right? Right? The mind that created my body is the mind that maintains my body. It knows exactly what to do to keep me in good health. I affirm the perfect action of life. I praise my health, for it is of God. Intelligence alerts me to every means of maintaining and expanding my health. My subconscious mind accepts these statements and acts upon them. Now, this is very important, as we talked about and read in the beginning of this chapter, the idea of we must actually praise our health, right? When things are going well, and this is really just a principle for any aspect of your life. When things are going well, whatever's going well, we need to talk about it, we need to magnify it, we need to glorify it, we need to praise it, and continue to talk about it so that when the unwanted comes or shows up, we've developed a momentum around what is good that then supports us in intelligence alerts me to every means of maintaining and expanding my health, right?
Absolutely.
Right? Because you recognize that connection and you're affirming that connection, and you've been doing this over time. Unfortunately, what we do is we wait till the oh Lord moments, right? We wait till we get the diagnosis. We wait till things are really bad. And now all of a sudden, oh Lord, what did Raymond Charles Barker say in that book? Let me find one of those spiritual mind treatments. But we actually want to do this on a daily basis now, right? And affirming the mind that created my body is the mind that maintains my body. It knows exactly what to do to keep me in good health, right? And then I'm guided by this divine intelligence to every means of maintaining and expanding my health. And that's going to be individualized for you based on what you believe.
Right. So
For some people, it may be certain supplements. For somebody else, it may be a certain prescription. For somebody else, it may be working out with this person. For somebody else, it may be doing Pilates. For somebody else, it may be running. For somebody else, it may be plant-based diet. For somebody else, it may be gluten-free. For somebody else, it may be keto, right? For somebody else. But if you know that you're being directed by divine intelligence, it's like, this is what's going on. I feel good about it. And I bless and affirm everybody else in allowing intelligence in through, and that's them to support them in maintaining and expanding health.
Absolutely. And so, as we've talked about in the beginning of this chapter, there's no judgment about when there are need for medical attention. It says every means of maintaining and expanding my health. So if you find your place of in dis-ease or that doesn't feel as healthy, it's going to alert you or bring into your awareness every means possible to return you to this health. There's no judgment about that's where you are.
Nope.
It's just going to alert you intelligently through whatever means of maintaining or returning, in that instance, to your health.
And that's going to be the path of least resistance, which really what that means is wherever your belief system can accept, right? So as we read in the previous parts of this chapter, the idea of in this day and age, it's going to be harder for most of us to believe that, you know, through spiritual mind treatment, we alone, right? We can just, somebody can speak the word and your bone just snaps back in place and heals and you're fine the next day, right? We recognize that, and it's so beautiful the way he articulates that in this chapter. So, yes, you may, it may be surgery. Yes, it may be some other means, but the path of least resistance is based on what you can believe, and you got to be honest about that.
Yes.
Right? Because what so many of us do is like, oh, well, I should believe that I can heal metaphysically, or I should believe that I don't need a prescription, or I should. And it's like, you should allow intelligence to guide you into
The path of least
the
resistance.
path of least resistance for you to maintain and expand your health. And here's the thing. And then when you get back to your health is restored, then pick up this affirmation, and from this place, from that restored place, now praise your health.
Absolutely.
Right? Because then you're building up your belief system to use these means in a greater way.
So again, we're not saying do not take the pill if you need the pill.
Right, absolutely.
Treat the mind, return to perfect health, and then affirm health from that point forward.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. So we go on. Spiritual recognition of your health is a great step toward any healing. It is a required premise if you are to use spiritual treatment or affirmative prayer as your means of restoring health. Your very recognition of this fact causes the health process to begin its perfect work. You cannot emphasize enough in your mind the fact that God is life, health, perfect action, strength, and vitality. The repetition of statements like that one causes your subconscious mind to respond by corresponding.
It's like our meditation this month. Today I choose to spend in perfect peace. Right? I'm making the decision for this. I'm affirming it. Right?
We move on. Stop accepting illness as normal. Illness is an abnormality functioning in a bodily system that must have normalcy in order to express creative living. Sickness has a peculiar psychology of its own. It not only conditions the body, it also conditions the mind. It creates strange quirks in our consciousness. Usually it absorbs the bulk of our attention, and all of our decisions are made in terms of what is wrong with us. Most people seem to have a morbid fascination with the ways and means of dis-ease. It holds them in its grasp very easily, and they do not see things rightly. It twists and changes their viewpoints. Wives have said to me that they cannot understand their husbands' attitudes when they are sick. Husbands tell me the same thing about their wives. When sick, people become totally self-absorbed. Often they become petty tyrants and rule the entire household from their bedrooms. They lose interest in world affairs and other people, and even in the problems of other members of their own families. They want and demand attention, and they usually get it. Many people enjoy sickness. It is a paid vacation from their jobs. The telephone is constantly ringing to find out how they are. They receive gifts of flowers, candy, and toilet water. Their mail is suddenly heavy, and get well cards arrive and are set up around the room. They are the center of everyone's attention and concern. And I just want to read this last sentence because we need to talk about it.
Yeah.
Sick people often trade in on their sickness.
Okay, everybody take a breath. This is not a judgment of being ill. It is an observation of what happens when that becomes our focus. Right? And so just like we talk about throughout this book, we're going to lovingly move through this and understand what he's really saying here. He's giving you insight into why sickness continues in our psyche. And as I like to say for myself, I realize that there's sometimes an unconscious benefit to being sick. Unconscious. Remember? I'll use myself for example. I have been in the past a person who goes nonstop. And the only time I ever gave myself permission to take a break was when I was sick. It started very early in my life. And when I realized that that was the underlying thing that was happening, I then decided something different, that I could rest. I didn't have to be sick to rest. That I could take days off. I didn't have to be sick to take days off. And so I didn't judge myself. I just realized that that's what was operating in the background. And when I chose another thought about how to maintain my health, meaning take a break, don't overload yourself. Don't do too much, where the only time you give yourself permission is when you're sick. I'm a perfect example of that. And when I became really aware of that, things changed.
Yeah.
And so I now have this mechanism where I can feel, oh, wait, there's too much. My threshold for pain is really a lot lower than it used to be, right?
Absolutely, right? And that's one of the reasons why I say that so often, right? Lower your threshold for pain. And so really, and we think about it from the collective, right? We live in a society. I was thinking about that. It's really fascinating, right? That we have medicines that are designed, for instance, like Dayquil, is designed for you to keep working while you're sick. Right? And all of us have done it. It's like, oh, well, I'm not that sick. I can just take some Dayquil and I can still go to the office. I can still do this meeting. I can still go wherever, right? And so we have a society that is not supportive of and does not teach us rest. I just shared an article just the other day. I tweeted it and shared it on Facebook from a bunch of doctors, or interviewing a bunch of doctors related to COVID, that's talking about the fact that people are trying to work, and you've seen it, right? Every well-known person in the last year, right, that has gotten COVID, from Dr. Fauci to Kamala Harris and on, right? It's like, oh, they tested positive for COVID and, their symptoms are mild and they'll be working from home. Instead of resting. And what the article is talking about is that people that aren't resting with COVID, they're starting to have more problems later. And this has become normalized, like this is a good thing. Oh, well, the vice president is still working with COVID and this person is working with COVID, right? So when I get COVID, I'm supposed to work too, because that's what you do. And it's like, no, we actually are supposed to take the time to rest, which would then create a pattern in our minds around we wouldn't need to create sickness or attract sickness for permission to rest, right? And that's what's going on. The other thing that he's outlining here, which is interesting, is the receiving of gifts and the receiving of attention, right? And so many of us, if we feel undervalued, right, or we feel like people aren't paying attention to us, or the loved ones aren't paying attention to us, but we unconsciously, sometimes from childhood or in adult situations, have created a pattern of, oh, well, when I'm not feeling well, this person is nice to me. When I'm not feeling well, my boss isn't overloading me with things, right? And so unconsciously, we're giving ourselves what we need, and unfortunately, that's through sickness. So this is what's beautiful, is what he's really outlining, and I'm sure that you can see parallels in your own life or in people you know. The power of the mind as it relates to illness. And we have completely, as a society, undervalued what that is and what's really going on, right? That we actually we contribute a great deal through our thinking and through our collective thinking to illness.
And again, this is not judgment. This is, like I always say, curiosity, like with myself. Why is this? Once I became aware of the pattern, compassion for why the pattern was there, and then choosing something else in its place. No, I'm just going to realize that I don't have to be, flat on my back, literally. PG has witnessed that, in order to stop. Right? I'm going to love myself. I'm going to forgive myself and set myself free for those unconscious times that I did that.
Right. Sick people often trade in on their sickness. They unconsciously, or perhaps consciously, accept the good that accompanies their problems. They subconsciously want to hold on to their illness because of the many fringe benefits that accompany it. The thought of going back to work is not pleasant. The thought of having to get their own meals and wash some dishes should be avoided at all costs. They have had a subconscious need to feel, important, and this need is met by the attentions they receive. The longer the illness continues, the deeper the patient wallows in self-pity while mentally creating new attention getters. Such people need a spiritual jolt. They have accepted their illness as normal. They pray that God will make them better, while subconsciously they hope to stay ill. They really do not want to be fully well and to assume the responsibilities that accompany actual health. You need to know God as health and health as normal. You have to decide that you are going to be well. Once you make that decision and really mean it, the spiritual forces in your mind and body go to work. Health is a yes system, and dis-ease is a no system. Life responds to affirmative thinking. It flows where the channels are open, and affirmative thinking opens channels. It's interesting, too, when you think about this. When he says this idea of you need to know God is health and health is normal. And as we're talking about this idea that one of the ways we normalize health is actually through rest. right? And it's one of the reasons that we continue to model and demonstrate this even in how we lead CSC. But let's look at nature. All of nature, all of life rests, right? Humans are the only ones that defy how the seasons go, right? And it's like, oh yeah, I don't care, it's winter, we're still gonna go, right? I don't care what's going on. But all of life has this ebb and flow, has this rest, which then is what supports it in being its greatest self, right? Its greatest expression, right? After hibernation, right? And so this is the idea when we talk about health is normal and deciding that we're going to be well, right? And living in this yes system of health, this is why we say yes to rest. This is why we say yes to breaks. This is why we say yes to, not putting too much on our plate, right? And then, of course, we could also say this is why we say no, right, to certain things, recognizing it's a complete sentence, and really honoring our capacity, right, from that place of awareness. Because it's like, I'm praising my health, I'm praising my good health, I love how I feel now. And sometimes that's what you have to tap into before you take on a new project, before you take on some new thing, right? Tap into, okay, a few weeks from now, months from now, with everything else I have going on, can I really do this and maintain my health, right? And again, that health is about peace of mind, right? But it's not even about, not getting sick, or can I still push through it kind of thing. That's not what we're talking about. If you're talking about pushing through something, then you're not saying yes to health. That's
Right.
actually a great indicator.
I say that if it's pushed through to do, I don't do.
Right.
I had to learn that, though.
Right. That's the thing, right? For all of us, we have learned to do that. And again, it's because of the society we live in, right? Where, oh yeah, I can do this thing, or, I fit in my plate. Oh, it's only for a little bit. It's like, why would you make that agreement for pain?
And let's not forget, okay, all of this is operating in our collective unconscious mind. However, there's also, if you're in a black or brown body, there's the intergenerational trauma from being beaten into submission that you work beyond, right? And this idea of hustle and grind that keeps reinforcing that you got to work no matter what, right? All of that is feeding into this illness that we all are collectively experiencing, right? So we rest. We rest because we are worthy of rest. We rest because rest is our divine right.
Yes, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. Life created you out of itself that you might enjoy the experience of living in health and well-being. There is not now, nor has there ever been, a spiritual design for sickness. No one has ever improved spiritually by being ill.
I love this line. I mean, I remember, we've been taught, there must be something in this for me. This is why I got to suffer, unconsciously or subconsciously. It makes my heart sad to know, in terms of our ancestors, that it's going to get better in the sweet by and by, meaning I had to endure all kinds of suffering, all kind of illness, all kind of pain and punishment, but I'm going to get mine later, right?
You may get rested, but you will not be improved. The infinite mind knows nothing of illness. It only knows itself as health. When you start thinking as it is thinking, your recovery is certain. There is a spiritual wealth of healing power within you, waiting your affirmative call upon it. It begins its perfect work when you decide to be health and think as health would think.
And that could be as simple as when you wake in the morning, being in gratitude that the breath is flowing, right? It doesn't have to be some complex thing. It's just acknowledging that while I slept all night long, my bodily functions function properly. I'm grateful. Right?
Yep. Thinking health. Unless you are severely neurotic, your mind will think about anything you want to think. You are the only thinker in your mind. Unfortunately, health for many people is not as fascinating as illness, right? And think about this for a second, right? This is that tendency that we've learned to put a lot of attention on the problem versus the solution, right? We when something is going wrong, I shared this before because this is sort of how I learned it and then how I had to sort of see it to unlearn it. When I think about growing up, there was more fanfare when I did something wrong and I got in trouble, right? And there was a whole production that, of course, included getting a beating, right? There wasn't an equal amount of, celebration, affirmation, and shining a light when something good happened or was done, right? I mean, there in many cases there was, right? I got money for my report cards and things like that, right? It's not that nothing was done, but when you consider which was given more attention, which was given more power and focus, there was an imbalance, right? And again, this is not a knock on my parents. This is the society, right, we live in, right? It's kind of the same way. People experience this at work. Right? It's like when you do a great job, it's like, oh, great job. But when you mess up, you get written up and there's this whole process and 3 strikes you're out, right? So this is a tendency that we've learned, and it also shows up here in illness, right? Unfortunately, for many people, it's not fascinating as illness, thinking about health. And so when something's wrong, we put all our, Lord, my knee, this knee, right? And we just keep talking about it. Anybody that wants to listen, you just keep talking about this knee, right? And of course, people connect around the pain of illness and all of these things. That is seemingly way more fascinating than people talking about and connecting around health and well-being, and that being our reality. Mm-hmm. It is difficult to define health other than as a general sense of well-being. It cannot be measured by the pulse rate, the thermometer, or the EKG. A healthy mind is essential to maintaining a healthy body. You may not be able to think of health as health, but you can think of many things from a healthy viewpoint.
That's interesting too.
Right? A healthy mind is one that actually believes there is more good than evil in this world. Powerful. A healthy mind believes that there are more fine people than there are mean people. A healthy mind expects right action to be taking place, and when it discovers this not to be so, is undismayed. It proceeds to correct the situation without fear or intensive worry. It is never bogged down in serious negative thinking. It is certain of itself and of its ability to handle everyday problems.
I love this understanding of a healthy mind that contributes to a healthy body, because a lot of us are not healthy in our current thinking or what we currently have accepted in our subconscious mind, the thoughts and the patterns. And he's saying, it's not just my body is physically healthy, everything about me is healthy.
Right.
I'm in a healthy relationship with myself and others, right? It's so important to understand. It extends beyond. I got healthy money habits. I have healthy all kinds of things, right? Because health is the dominant force
Right.
that we're all connected to.
Right. And so this is where the power of many of these new thought affirmations and axioms that we all know every day in every way, things are getting better for me, right? We start to, hold on to believe these things because this is what's supporting us in having and developing a healthy mind. And it's absolutely true that a healthy mind creates a healthy body. Body is form, not just the soul clothing you have, but your body is all of the things that represent your life, right? As PY talked about, whether it's finances, relationships, etc. That starts with a healthy mind and thinking health. And then this I love here because he's talking about, the sort of the way a healthy mind expects, right? Healthy mind believes there is more good than evil in this world, right? And that's actually factually true. But of course, the news is not going to tell you that, right? The top 10 headlines, right, in the local news are not going to tell you that, right? It's going to tell you something else, right? So I can read the headlines in the news, but my healthy mind knows something greater, right? A healthy mind believes that there are more fine people than mean people, right? Expects right action to be taking place, but also recognizing, well, sometimes this doesn't happen to be so, but then that healthy mind is undismayed. It's not all is lost. Oh no, the world is coming to an end, right? And so you don't go into fear or intensive worry, right? Never bogged down by serious negative thinking. Not that negative thoughts don't happen or don't show up, but they don't become the dominant force and therefore debilitating.
Right. I mean, so if anything, just to highlight this whole section about what a healthy mind is and how it works. And I love how, like he just said, it's not that things don't happen.
Right.
It's how we process what happens. Right? I like to call it your spiritual bounce back. It's not that things don't happen to PG and I.
Right.
They do.
Of course.
It's just how we bounce back and how quickly we bounce back. Because underneath it all, there's a healthy mind that has been cultivated.
Exactly.
Right? It was always there, but we, from this place of consciousness, now get to cultivate it, now to get to grow it. Right?
You may have this healthy mind right now. If you do not, you can gradually develop it. Place your attention on constructive things and people in your world and think about them. Watch them, study them. Use your imagination so that this new way of thinking is kept vital and fascinating. Read inspirational books and magazines. Start declaring to yourself that you have a healthy mind in a healthy body, living in a healthy experience. Declare this often. You are stating a truth, and a truth that will make itself evident in you as you. It will bear fruit after its own kind.
Right. So when it starts to show up, just acknowledge it. A lot of times those signs of land that we talk about, they go unnoticed, you know, and so PG and I are always affirming things that support our healthy mind and how it's showing up in the world. And, you know, we affirm it over and over and over. Like, did I tell you? And then we know that we did. We bring ourselves back to it all the time.
Watch your conversations with people. They will reveal whether you have a healthy mind or not. Right. And so this is observe your conversation. Listen to how you're talking. Right. I mean, and sometimes that even happens in our conversations. And then I stop myself. I'm like, oh, wait, no, let me stop. Right. Right. If you enlarge on any negative idea in your discussions, you are wrong. Minimize every negative. If it must be discussed, do it in the shortest way possible and with the least emotion. Turn then to some pleasant, creative, or affirmative subject and start the conversation going in new directions. Here's a quote from the Bible on this point. Whoso keepeth their mouth and their tongue keepeth their soul from troubles. Proverbs 21:23. What you say evidences what you are. Healthy minds do not ignore negative conditions.
Ding, 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 ding.
Can't say this enough. They proceed to overcome them. There is no need to get excited over things you can do nothing about. Reserve your mental attention for creative ideas that stimulate you. So the question that we received is actually based on this section that we just read. So I want to share the question and then we'll talk about it because there's actually some good things to unpack here. So the question, there is a situation that I, collectively with all the other homeowners in my community, are experiencing in a negative way because of actions taken by our HOA board. We can do nothing at this juncture except seek legal advice, which none of us are financially able to do. Question, how do I use the guidance on pages 140 and 141 in a practical way to not ignore a negative condition, but proceed to overcome them? I keep my conversations positive, expecting only the best outcome, not well received by those in obvious fear, and yet I feel there should be some action I should be taking. I too feel fear intermittently when I think about the what ifs that could occur. Okay.
Great question.
So this question is not about health specifically, but what's beautiful is that what he's talking about, and we just read, healthy mind leads to healthy body, and that's about our entire life. The underlying principle is the same, whether we're talking about health, whether we're talking about relationships, whether we're talking about something related to your home. I think it's also helpful, one of the things that PY and I were thinking about as we read this question is that this is a great God Talk question, right? So for those of you who've never been to the God Talk, this is a great God Talk conversation because we could ask other questions to really understand more about what is or isn't going on. But what's interesting is in the asking of the question, there's a revelation of your current consciousness and what's really going on in your mind. right? And so what's interesting is that what you're sharing with us is that at least right now, or at least in this particular instance, you think you are powerless, right? And so to the extent that one would think they are powerless, no good can come from it, right? And nothing's going to work, right? But the title of this class is I've Got the Power, right? And so first, why do I say that you think you're powerless, right? Because this unconsciously, because this will then lead us into the what do I do, right? So the statement of powerlessness, we can do nothing at this juncture. Well, that's never true in the mind of a metaphysician and someone, as we're talking in this context of what we've been reading. A healthy mind knows that there's always something that could be done at any juncture, right? So we can do nothing at this juncture except seek legal advice, right? So that's my back is against the wall and I don't have any options or choices, right? But the mind that knows its mind is God's mind actually has infinite options and choices all the time, even if you're not currently aware of them.
Right.
But recognizing your oneness with the all that is, there are other options. But here's the other thing, except seek legal advice, which none of us are financially able to do. Well, there's another mental roadblock, a thought that says that the only way I can get legal advice is to pay for it.
Or that it would be so exorbitant that I couldn't afford it.
Right. Yeah. Or there isn't an attorney that's adequate that can address what our needs that also is affordable. Right. Right. And so again, what's being revealed is all of these roadblocks of thinking in your mind that actually aren't true.
Right. And it could also be that collectively, you said a collective of homeowners. So it could be also that the energy of all those people thinking the same thing has kind of cemented in consciousness for you personally some of these beliefs, right? So we're not saying that there's anything wrong with this. It's beautiful because we get to dissect and become curious about what's happening in the minds of you and everyone else there.
So, right, this is not a judgment, but it's an awareness. And why is the awareness important? Well, because it goes back to what we've been reading in the text when it comes to understanding what a healthy mind is, and also examining if we have a healthy mind currently, right? Placing our attention on constructive things. So when we ask, what do I do and how do we not ignore a negative condition? How do we proceed to overcome the negative condition? We examine what it is that we believe about the condition and the experience.
So that's step one.
Right? And so that's what we're doing now. By the language that's being used in the question is showing what actually needs to be overcome. I don't know if you realize this. It's important for everybody to say. The condition is not whatever the HOA board did. That's not the condition, right? The condition is the pattern of thinking in your own mind, right? That's what needs to be over. If you try to overcome that external experience of whatever actions they took, right? That's like, trying to move a mountain in your mind.
So the HOA board is the effect.
Exactly.
Right? So there's been some thinking amongst you and the people involved around how I get support, around how life works, around what's possible, right? So you can't go to all those people and be like, look, you need to do this. We're focusing in on you and what would bring you back to peace and get you to the place of being able to see and receive intelligent guidance.
Right. And so when you say that I treat, right, I pray, I use spiritual mind treatment, right? So then the question is, well, what is the content of that prayer, right? Because what are you treating? If you're praying, to change the mind of the HOA board or to change this external experience, no, right? The prayer is for us, right? It's, I need to remove all of these obstacles in my mind that think I'm powerless, that think that I don't have options, that think that there's only one path for this thing to work well, to think that I need money, right, to solve this problem, right? All of those are limiting beliefs, limiting thoughts. And so that's where we use spiritual mind treatment, and that's what we're treating, right? And so, right, and you say, I keep my conversations positive, expecting only the best outcome. Okay, but then of course you're receiving some feedback immediately in the conversations that you're having with others, which is just mirroring back your own fear, which you speak to, right? When you say that I too feel fear intermittently. And again, thinking about the what ifs that could occur. Thinking about the what ifs don't necessarily have to create fear, right? Because there's two what ifs, right? If you're thinking about the what if could go wrong, yes, fear intermittently is going to come up. But the healthy mind would be thinking about the what ifs that could go right. The what ifs, as we just, are just like throwing out these random what ifs of what if it's, you get a pro bono lawyer? What if you don't need money, right? What if somebody that you hadn't thought about actually has information to support you all in what you need to do? What if there's some other community that's already done and fought against this kind of thing and can give you free advice, right, or guidance, right? There's all these other what ifs that at your healthy mind you want to use to, as he talks about in the text, this idea of putting your attention on constructive things and people in your world and think about them.
Right. And again, this is not a judgment. This is an observation of where you are and where anyone would be in these kinds of situations. And so when we become curious about, when we get to the point when we can observe and look at, step back from without judgment, oh, right, there are some thoughts that I've had around support. I have had some thoughts around how money comes. I do have some thoughts. And so what I'm treating is not that condition. What I'm treating is the mind that is in fear of those conditions. Right? And so fear is a sense of separation from truth, from answers, from insight, from whatever it is. And so, of course, that if your mind and focus is in opposition to truth, not consciously again, that you would feel isolated, you would feel alone, and you would feel separate, that there's no answer. But what we're also saying is, if there is a fear response, there is a love response waiting. There's a love-based question to ask. There's a way to pose it so that the mind and the focus shifts towards what we're talking about. And all of this activity, by the way, is supporting you in creating a healthy mind.
Yep. Absolutely.
Right? So say you don't have it. Say you're honest and you know that. Well, by doing these kinds of things, it's reinforcing the healthy mind that really is there. Right? And so nothing is wasted, nothing is wrong.
Right.
That's another healthy mind thought. What if nothing is wrong here? And that feels crazy when the conditions look so pressing. What if nothing is wrong here? That opens the mind to the possibility of there's something else going on that's supporting me, that's loving me, that's nurturing me, that's bringing the answers to me. What if nothing's wrong? And in a place where everything feels wrong, planting just that little thought is all the opening that is needed for it to shift, for you to begin to think about, wait, what if nothing's wrong? What if there's something out of this? What if like PG just ran down a list of possibilities? And what if the possibilities are even beyond what I've already imagined? And what if they're loving? It goes to your God idea as well. What if this loving presence here wants to support me? Right? And so I didn't do anything wrong in the way that I now realize I was thinking. But what if I get to now think something different? Right? Which is another reason your mind is already becoming healthy, because you brought the question.
Absolutely.
Right? You didn't stew in or be in the fear so much that you couldn't even realize, like, wait a minute, I must not have everything that I need here to make a choice. That's a healthy mind being cultivated. And that's the healthy mind coming through to say, okay, what if there's another possibility? How could I see this differently, A Course in Miracles says? Those are all attributes and ways of thinking. Now, we're honest. We know that in the middle of an unwanted, you're like, dang, I just want this fixed. We take the focus off the external and we bring our power back to where it resides. I get to help create my healthy mind so that I can identify healthy choices. Right?
Yeah. So what's incredibly important is that you're aware now, and through the asking of the question, it really illuminates what your thoughts and beliefs are around the situation, right? And aware now of the presence of the limiting beliefs, that's what you're proceeding to overcome, right? And so you're reversing, as we read into the text, right? Reverse your mental attention for creative ideas that stimulate you, right? So by bringing your attention back to a more expanded perspective, right? That does not limit you to the what feels are the only options now, and even that option is not an option because you can't afford it, right? So it's just slam door, right? But the truth is, in the mind of God, all doors are open, right? All channels are free, and the world says yes to you, right? And you know that God is present in, through, and as all things, and so from that perspective, God must show up as the thing that you need through the path of least resistance to support you. And again, the so-called solution that you're currently aware of is not the only solution. It's not the only path, right? So even if that door is closed, fine. There is another way,
right? And the path
to get to a beneficial outcome for all involved.
Absolutely. And the path of least resistance might not be in what you logically would have done in the past.
Exactly.
Maybe in truth, you've grown in terms of your mind that you can receive help in an easier way, right? All of that's possible.
Right.
And so I get it when there's a group of people and that energy in that group, it feels like there's nothing else. We bring our minds to, what if I'm here to, in my mind, be the voice of peace? What if that these conversations are just people, they are also in their fear, and so that fear is kicked up. I don't have to take it on. I can be supportive and understanding. I too am in fear, right? I can acknowledge it, but I don't have to stay in that energy. Meaning you don't have to tell them, look, I'm not here for your energy, right? None of that has to happen. This is an internal treating of the mind that says, right, when we are afraid, we feel separate. And in our coming together around what we fear, it feels like connection. Right? All of these things are happening.
Yep. So I hope that that's helpful. I'm looking at the time. We want to move forward in this chapter. We have about 10 minutes.
Right. And you can always come to God Talk if you, a part of this is we don't have all the details, right? Based on what you've given us, this is the response that we would give you.
The health image. Use your imagination to picture yourself and all whom you know as living embodiments of health, vitality, and perfection. Your imagination is a mighty force for creating good. It is the pearl of great price among all of the other great faculties of mind. It gives form and outline to ideas. It takes the concept or idea out of the realm of nebulous and brings it into actual visualization. Making mental images of yourself as health is a vital aid to either regain health or maintain it, right? So this is beautiful when you think about how we begin to develop a healthy mind and a healthy body, and then how we use visualization, but really just imagination, right? We're oftentimes unaware of the ways in which we're imagining the worst outcome. Right? Oftentimes, people do things even to promote health, but it's to avoid something, which means you're already imagining yourself, hobbling, or imagining yourself being in pain, right? And so making mental images of yourself as health is a vital aid. I'm thinking about a series of tweets I was reading recently that was talking about, folks in their 40s and 50s. The sister was saying, like, we really need to be on top of our health. And, we thought that, we could just keep living and just doing and running and not getting enough sleep. And now I'm realizing, as I'm in my 50s, I need my rest and blah, blah, blah. And I heard what she was saying, but it's interesting because something that I did consciously when I was in my mid-30s, knowing I'm coming to 40, I decided how I wanted to be in health and mind and body as I entered my 40s, right? I knew that if I trying to wait till then and now all of a sudden I'm gonna get myself together and start doing these things. And so I literally began to develop a lifestyle that first started from my consciousness, right, of having a mental image of health and vitality. And one of the things I think that's so interesting in that path, for a period of time, we, were plant-based, strictly plant-based, and that was helpful and kind of really a great reset. But I think about after I turned 40 was when I learned transcendental meditation. And one of the interesting things about TM, and this is verifiable, is that those who practice TM, and if you're, definitely practicing it and doing your 2 meditations a day, biologically, you're actually 5 to 10 years younger because of the healing properties, right? So in my mid-30s, making this decision, which brought me to another decision at 40, which then reversed me back to my mid-30s, right? But that started with not what should I do, what should I eat, where should I exercise, what supplements should I take. That's not what it started with. It started with a mental image of myself as health and vitality, right? And then infinite intelligence took me on a journey, right? So the power of your imagination is tremendous. So many of us unconsciously have been taught to imagine ourselves as old when we hit a certain age, right? And for a whole host of reasons, and TV reinforces it, so many things, but you have watched yourself use it to magnify negatives, now use it to expand your consciousness of well-being.
Right. And it's never too late, right? Whether you come to this in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. We were watching a show last night, and the lady was 75.
She looked wonderful.
She looked like whatever that decision point was for her, whatever point that happened, she made a choice that she was going to imagine herself being vital. And so another point about that is anytime we see someone who's vital, in what we could consider later years in life, we acknowledge it and celebrate. We're like, "Oh, she looks great!"
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't just her physical body looked great; her soul was just glowing, right? And so take that into your imagination, right? What do I want to be when I get to? Who do I want to be when I get to this certain age, right? That energy, that glow she had, and the way she talked about life and the experiences she had, I'm like, that's it right there.
Yeah.
And so I'm constantly collecting information for my imagination to use.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm thinking about this a couple of weeks ago. We were talking. We were sitting on the couch watching TV, and PY looked over at me, and she was like, "You looking good." I'm thinking, I love this little salt and pepper that's coming in. And I said, "You don't understand." I said, "The way this seasoning," I said, "when I turn 50, the way this you think it's good." So literally in my mind, I'm like, "You don't understand." Like, I turned 46 on Thursday, but I'm like, 50? Like, do you realize that's where my mind is in terms of I have this positive expectation of like, I'm going to be even better at that age, right? And that's the consciousness, right, that we get to live in.
And then we just support each other in that all the time. And it's not that there's something special has to be happening. We're just sitting here, and I looked over, and I was like, all right, salt and pepper, looking good, right? And so we made these choices a long time ago that we were going to get better with age. That's another decision point. And I said that to I look better as I'm getting older.
Yeah, real talk.
And we talk about that all the time. He's like, yeah, you do, right? So we constantly affirm what we've already decided within ourselves is true for us, right?
Yeah. Perhaps you've never really imaged yourself as vital health. Right now, think about this and start creating such an image. With your eyes closed, picture yourself as a radiant whole being. This may take a bit of doing. Put action into this picture of yourself. Health is the capacity of doing. See yourself accomplishing some goal and doing this with ease. Also, in doing this visualization of your health, be certain not to include any present physical limitations you may have. Make the picture perfect in every way. See youthfulness, perfect sight, perfect hearing, and all other body actions and reactions as total and perfect. Do not include limitations. You are now seeing yourself as you were created to be. Erase any age conditioning. For a moment, forget yourself as you really are. You are now seeing yourself as the infinite knows you to be. But a picture held in your mind for several moments has great therapeutic power. Your subconscious mind welcomes this new picture because you have consciously created it. It is a directive to your subconscious field of creative action. Doing this once or twice a day adds power to your decision to be healthy. It soon becomes a real inspiration to you, and you find it simple and easy to do. Ask yourself how you would look and feel and what you would do as a total healthy individual. As your practice of this becomes habitual, it no longer enters your mind to picture yourself any other way. In fact, such mental practice diminishes your interest in sickness of any kind. Now, if you sneeze, you do not plan on pneumonia. Have you ever done that before? Like, oh Lord, I must be getting sick, right? Like a sneeze, right?
Come on, y'all, raise your hand.
Right, you already preparing and preparing and buying stuff, right? You realize that sneezing is a healthy way of maintaining open channels. Also, your memory of past illnesses diminishes. You find yourself totally uninterested in past health problems, and you wish other people would stop telling you about theirs. Your new health picture also increases your health vocabulary. Look up the word health in the dictionary, and then look up the meanings of all of its synonyms. A few moments of doing this will provide you with some stimulating ideas. Now you are working on the side of positives. This makes many changes in your conversations with friends and relatives. You no longer waste 10 minutes discussing your own lack of vital health, and you have less patience with those who want to tell you of their symptoms. The world of health is a fascinating world. It has its own mental pictures, its own vocabulary, and its own good decisions. Now you are at home in this new world of health, and a great peace and sense of well-being is yours.
Today I choose to spend in perfect peace.
Yes. There may be times when you have to face a slight or major physical illness, but now you are spiritually equipped to meet this without fear and false speculation, right? That's huge. You know the problem to be temporary, and your mental attitude is such that it cannot long endure. It is unwelcome in your consciousness, and you clear it out with a definite decision that it shall not be. You know that the lie is never the truth. Facing the lie of illness with the truth of health is the healing process. You picture yourself as the truth of health, and you keep this picture activated in your imagination. This frees your subconscious from all fear, and it proceeds with the business of producing health, for it must produce what you consistently image.
Right, and this is developing a habit of thinking this way, right? So every time you practice, every time you imagine, you're building a healthy mind.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so there's no judgment. So a healthy mind doesn't judge itself. A healthy mind operates in forgiveness for what it becomes aware that it used to do. Right? If there's nothing wrong, there's nothing really to forgive. I just realize now I want to live differently. That's it. I want to talk differently. I kind of disagree with this less patience for those who want to tell you of their symptoms. Because if I'm secure in my knowingness, I also realize why people talk about things, because I now have this knowledge. And so my patience is infinite. It doesn't impact my decision about my life. I get to support them in moving in a different path on their own, right? So I become more loving because I realize I used to be that way.
Right. That's very true. Very true.
So I have me and Barker kind of part ways on that one.
Right. And he kind of says the same thing again here. You've lost your interest in sympathy. You do not seek it from others, and you find it difficult to give to others.
That's just not true. Because for me, the way I live my life, my beliefs are set up.
Right.
Unconditional love is always the way.
Right.
And so if I lose my sympathy, or if I'm in fear that me talking to them would some kind of way eradicate all the good that I've created in my own mind, then my mind ain't as healthy as I thought.
Right, right. You feel like telling the person who is ill to change their own picture of themselves. You probably cannot do this, as the person would resent it, so you do not yield to that temptation even though you think it. Gradually, other people think of you as a vitally healthy person. They remark that you look healthy. Unknowingly, your radiation of health causes them to lessen their discussions of disease. When they are around you, they now talk of other things. The spirit within them is stimulated by your knowingness of health. In fact, the chronic complainers will feel uncomfortable in your presence. Your permanently decided upon health may make some changes in your personal relationships. The chronics will gradually move out of your life, and new people who are as healthy prone as you are will come into your life. You will find this a healthy fellowship of kindred minds. I've definitely experienced in my own life, it's not that people left, but it's that the conversation changed, right? That they just, remark about, oh, you all look so wonderful, or you look so radiant, right? That literally happens all the time. And then also it's like, well, right, we don't draw those complaining conversations to us, right? So there's other stuff to talk about, right?
Right, and we're always present, so we can be a present for people as they experience their lives where they are right now, and also hold the truth that it could be different.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it is time. Time moves so quickly. I'm glad we were able to answer that question. I think we had maybe a couple more sections left in the chapter that unfortunately we won't get to get through. We're going to move forward with chapter 7. Chapter 7 is Decide to Be Creative. So please read chapter 7 this week. And as questions come up, whatever those questions may be, email truthsunday@celebrationsc.org with your question, and we will incorporate that as we move through the reading. There's only a few more chapters left in the book, but we're going to continue to just move through deliberately, intentionally, lovingly, and continue to clarify and learn and grow together. So we appreciate each and every one of you for being here. You've seen the information on your screen throughout the stream, but this is the official time for giving. And as we always say here at CSC, give what feels good. We give without fear, shame, or guilt. We've been saying this forever, and I hear that there are other people that are coming to the light of this awareness, and we bless them.
Yep.
And bless all of those that will be transformed by hearing the reality of this teaching, that we cannot give based on rule and obligation or fear of being called out, or as some churches do, they post everybody's names, and it's like you didn't give, and all of that punitive stuff. Give what feels good. Give from this good feeling tone. Give without shame and guilt.
Don't give your last.
Right, don't give your last. Now, we give consistently and deliberately and intentionally. Give where you're spiritually fed, right? There's something that's very powerful about making a choice and then sticking to that choice. I'm going to give $25 a week, right? And honoring that. And you've made that decision because it's something that fits within your financial plan, right? And feels good, right? There is a consistency because, again, giving is like breathing in and out. So we can't hold our breath because we know what happens when we hold our breath if we don't breathe, right? So that's why giving consistently is important. But that's not about God going to get you or punish you or whatever. It's just literally a part of life, right? An open hand is the hand that receives, which means that hand had to be, when I give, my hand is open and I can receive, and we create the cycle. So if you would like to give to CSC, that's very easy to do. You can go to our website, celebrationsc.org/give, or you can text your dollar amount to 347-744-9500. And when you give from this consciousness of knowing that God is your source and all of your streams of income are resources reflecting the infinite source that is God, then you give with joy and you can affirm this truth. All the money that I use returns to me multiplied. In a never-ending cycle. Of increase. And enjoyment. To that we say amen.
Amen.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And so it is.
So it is.
Well, everybody, we pray and know that you will have an absolutely awesome week. We pray and know that something that was shared today, something that happened in the service that we co-created, will empower you to continue to thrive, to think differently, to move differently, to act differently, and continue to see the law as God work in, through, and as your lives. We look forward to many of you connecting with us on Wednesday morning for the Momentum Prayer Call. And if we don't connect on Wednesday, then we will definitely see you back here next Sunday for the God Talk following the Masterclass next Sunday. All right. Bye for now.
Love you all. Bye for now.